Again, love about those. Thanks again for tuning in to yet another video. Infamous coming at you live from the West Coast yet again, San Jose, California. So, turns out the battery died on my GoPro. For some reason, these GoPro batteries are just complete garbage, or maybe it's because it's on the media mod. Anyways, let's go ahead and record this whole thing again. So, I bought these brackets for these essential knockoff bags. Yes, if you guys seen the unboxing, you guys already know. I was thinking in my head, you know what? I want something to kind of help hold the shape. If you guys seen the unboxing, it doesn't really have anything to kind of hold the shape, stuff like that. I mean, I like them. $100. I think they're pretty decent. So of course, you see Trash and Supply, they have a bracket system. I believe it's like $150. Even that's kind of pricey. So in my head, I'm always looking for cheap, inexpensive ways to give stuff a little bit more stability and a little bit more I don't know, a little bit just more, higher quality. Okay, so you guys can see that I purchased these L brackets on Amazon. So you can buy these for $10. It's a pack of 10, I believe. So we only need 4. We only need 4 of them, but you can use these to hang up shelves. So you know, it's a win-win. If you want to do a little bit of DIY stuff, handyman stuff around the house, you can use these because these suckers are thick. They're thick, you know, good overall L brackets. So let's look at how we modified these suckers right here. Okay, so you can see that I went ahead and I made that hole a little bit wider, a little bit bigger for a heavier duty bolt. Now, I mean, these bolts on your fender struts, they hold the fender. That's pretty much it. I guess if you ride 2-up, then this is probably what you want to do. But if you ride solo, I don't think you need heavy duty bolts. So we have, of course, a few different metric bolts over here. I also have M8 bolts on my struts, on my Sportster. Those are the ones we have. So if you're using an M6, then you can make this size of a hole. All right. If you're using M8 bolts, then you'll need a 3/8 hole. So that's a 3. This is a 3/8. I believe this one's a 5/16. So you can see the difference right there, of course. And if you have M6 bolts, that fits. If you have M6 and you don't want to drill into your L bracket, that won't fit. All right, it's not gonna fit. It's not gonna work. So you can, I mean, if you wanted to, you can use an M4. But you know what? We need the struts. We need it supporting the fender. And like I said, if you're riding 2-up, I would prefer to have a thicker bolt, a higher grade bolt. So let's go ahead and look at the other. So like I said, we need 4, right? And you're probably wondering, well, how come you only have 3? Because I wanted to show you guys how this is going to go. All right, so there it is. This is 5 by 3, 5 inches by 3. And if you guys look at the bottom, it's going to give us a little bit of that support, a little bit of that shape. You guys can see. Ideally, if you could find these, you would probably want a 4 by 6. A 4 by 6. So you guys can see what that looks like on the back. So that's the idea. We're going to use this L bracket to help hold the shape in case you do put something in here that's probably like, you know, a 6-pack or whatever. I'm not sure what would fit in here. We'll have to give it a test. But you'd be able to put some decent amount of weight. I'm saying that because, you know, the heavier this is, the saddlebag's going to start to sag, I believe, because of the weight. So I think it's going to start doing this. You guys see that? With the L bracket, you'll be able to put that weight on the L bracket, which is, you know, it's also secured on the strut. So all the weight's going to be on the strut, on the bolt, and on the L bracket. And you can see we're like an inch shy of that outer edge. So if you could find them 6 by 4, I would recommend getting the 6 by 4. I was thinking in my head, you know, in case you knock into it or whatever, I really doubt you'll knock into the 4-inch one because of course you have the shocks and you have the exhaust, you have the belt, you have yeah, mainly the shocks. I think 4 inches would be a little bit better. That way you have more, you know, more surface area to really put some weight on these. So, you know, this L bracket could potentially, you know, set it from what could probably be a 20-pound saddlebag to a 40 to 60-pound saddlebag, having, you know, this this metal piece, this bracket. So like I said, these are 10 bucks. If you guys want to stay tuned for the install, you guys can. It's, you know, it's fairly, you know, straightforward. Like I said, these are the ones that I'm going to be using on the front, because of course that's where the passenger sits at, and these back ones I'm using, these are the M6. These are going to be the M8s, in case if we do ride, or in case if I do ride 2-up, a lot of that weight's going to be on that heavier bolt, that thicker bolt. These ones, the ones on the back, this is just mainly just to kind of secure, of course, the saddlebag, and to, you know, put the weight on the L bracket. So thanks for watching. You know, this is just an improvement, of course. And if you guys are wondering, hey, how did you do that? You just bend the saddlebag. You bend it, you push it up, you know, you push it up underneath like that, because you could, you know, these are not hard saddlebags or anything like that. So you just do that, pull it out. You know, that's it. You grab your washer. Let's grab a washer real quick so you guys can see what this looks like. And the reason why I'm using, of course, the hex heads on this is because I can't get an L bracket in there when I mean, you probably could if you bend it like this, and then, but imagine trying to use the L head, the hex head, and pulling it out, putting it back in. You guys get what I'm saying? This is going to be a lot easier. You get a wrench, put that through, you grab your nut, put it underneath the on the other side of the rear fender. You grab your wrench, and then you just tighten that in, or you could grab your wrench and grab your socket on the other end, put that in there, and then drive it in there. Or you could do that as well with the hex head. Put your hex, put your Allen head hex on this bolt, compress it like this, and then tying up the bolt or the nut on the inside of the fender. Maybe I'll do that, but I believe right now I'm just going to keep this, and then of course once you're done installing it, you let it go, the bag takes its shape, and that's going to be secured. So like I mentioned in the other video, but like I said, because these are 5 inches, you'll only be able to set the strut here. You guys get what I'm saying? If we had the 6-inch or maybe the 7-inch, we'd be able to set the saddlebag a little bit lower on the strut. So I mean, these are also adjustable. You guys can see, you guys also have a hole here. So if you want the saddlebag seated a little bit above the fender, you would use this hole. All right, you get what I'm saying? So here, let me just show you guys. So you would pull this out, of course, and then you would just transfer this over to the other hole. And another, you know, another good thing about having it like this, of course, these saddlebags aren't coming off. All right, the only way for you to get the saddlebag off of this is you would have to completely take it off, do the pinch, compress the saddlebag, pull the bolt out, and then, you know, that's the only way you could get these off. You guys see what I'm saying? So with the bolt in there, these aren't going anywhere, guys. This is 100% secure. These are not flapping or anything like that in the wind or anything, because the molly is holding them down. And then of course you also have the weight of the bolt also holding down the saddlebag. The only way, like I said, the only way for you to get these off is you would have to completely take them off and pull the L bracket out. You guys see what I'm doing there? So I think it's pretty good. I think it's gonna be solid. You guys can let me in the comments. You guys can let me know in the comments if you guys think this is a good idea, or maybe there's something else better. But like I said, this is just me in my head thinking of something quick. I believe this is going to do the job once this is all bolted in there, and I think it's going to look pretty dang clean, because you don't have this over your rear fender scratching. Because on these saddlebags, I don't know if the Traction Supply has them, but there's no microcloth fiber on the bottom. I guess you could always lay that down there, but I think I would have preferred to have seen something stitched in here that has a soft cloth. And then, like I mentioned, I never really liked the look of these straps over the fender. Having, of course, the L brackets in there, not only are you more secured, but, you know, over time, Velcro, pulling it off, putting it back together, pulling it off, putting it back together, it's going to start to lose that stickiness of the Velcro. This way, you know, this method, they're in there, they're secured, and of course you could always, depending on where you want to put these, you could always, you know, move it this way or that way, so you'll have the ability to kind of set where it's going to be seated at. So like I said, I think it's a good idea. You just, you know, you just put this underneath of there. Of course, this is where the passenger is going to be seated at, so this is where I'm going to use the thicker bolt. You guys can see that. Same thing, we compress it, we compress the bag, we run the bolt through, and then we just put this underneath, and it's pretty much set to go. And that's the way it's going to sit on the saddlebag, kind of like that, with the two bolts sticking out there like so. And since we're using the same hole and the same molly and everything else like that, it's going to be even. It's not going to be slanted or anything like that. And like I mentioned, you'll be able to put a little bit more weight on these saddlebags. And I believe having the L brackets, though, they should be a little bit more secure because they're so close to the saddlebag and the molly straps. They're really just, they're in there snug. So thanks for watching. If you guys want to stay tuned for the install, you guys can, but I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So let's go ahead and get to work. I got to get the clothes out of the washer because my timer went off. So I got, you know, I got house chores to do at the same time I'm doing these installs and these videos. So all of this stuff takes time. So if you could please just like the video. If it helped out, leave a comment. Stay tuned. Let's get to work. Alright, so I already removed one of the bolts. You want to keep one of the bolts still in there so the fender doesn't fall or scratch or anything like that. So I'm going to be doing one at a time. We're going to mount it. We're going to thread the locks, the nuts, and then we're going to start tightening them down. So you guys can see I already went ahead, removed this bolt. Of course, like I said, you have to compress the saddlebag so you can fit the bolt underneath. And these, like I said, they won't fall out, guys. Alright, these are going to be secured 5x3. If you want to move them a little bit lower, like I said, depending on the position that you have these in, because you have different holes, so you can mount it down here. Like I mentioned, having them at the very peak up here, they'll sit like this on the saddlebag, on the bike. Here, let me just line it up. This is where it's going to sit, right here. Alright, if you want these a little bit taller, you can move the bolt down to the second hole down here. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. Yeah, you can move the bolts down here, and then that would make the saddlebag sit like this high. You have a lot of clearance from the shock if you want them this high. Like I said, you have many different options with these L brackets. You can sit them up this high if you wanted to. You also have another hole. You can sit them up this high, but I wouldn't recommend it because all the support's going to be on top. So I would say there's only really two positions to set this at: here, which is where I'm going to have them at, or here. So you can see it's a difference of about 1.5 inches on where you want to put it at. This is where I'm going to keep mine at because I want to be able to see my paint, you know. That's why I don't want to cover it up, and that's why I don't want the little flap on top of the fender. I just don't think it looks good. So you guys can see that's the way it's going to sit. We're going to go ahead and just drive this nut in there, and then having this loose, we'll be able to, you know, move it and then pull this one out. And like I said, we're using the M8 bolt on this one because that's where the weight of the passenger is going to be at. And this further out one, this is just mainly for the to hold the saddlebag in place. Alright, so there you go. We mounted them already. You guys can see I had to use my hand on the inside to push the bolt in because there's not a lot of room over here for me to put my hand. So it's not tightened down. Of course, you would have to tighten the bolts, but pretty much I use the inside of the saddlebag to push the bolt through the strut, through the fender, and now it's bolted underneath. Now we just go ahead and make sure they're nice and tight. And these are pretty much, you know, set to go. Like I said, it's still loose, so once we get the bolt really cranked down and everything, I think these are going to be pretty secure. They look very good, guys. You guys can let me know. I didn't end up cutting off the little flap. It's still there, so I didn't modify the bags themselves. I just had to modify the the L brackets. You can see how clean the saddlebags look mounted this way instead of having the flap on top. You guys can see it's very tight to the fender, and I always liked when the saddlebag is very tight, very close to the you know, to the fender. I'm not a huge fan of having that 2-inch gap or 3-inch gap right here. It just doesn't look good. So these look pretty solid. You guys can let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Look at that, all the different angles. We just have enough clearance from the shock. Look at this, maybe about like a 1/4 inch clearance, and I'm not worried about bottoming out or anything like that because these are fabric, and the bracket itself is actually down here. Let me lower the camera. You guys can see where the bracket sits. The L bracket is about maybe 1 inch or 1/2 inch away from the saddlebag, from the shock, so there's no concern. And then of course you could always add the Velcro straps that we still have because we haven't used any of them. We have 6 provided with these saddlebags, so you could go ahead and just wrap it around the shock if you wanted to. But that's pretty much it, guys. Now we're gonna grab the wrench because there really isn't much room over here. We have enough room just to kind of get the wrench in there. Here, let me show you right here. You can see the bolt, this bolt. We have enough room to kind of get the wrench and just tighten this thing down, and then once it's fully tightened, this thing's not going anywhere, guys. The saddlebags, like I said, the only way for you to get them out is you would have to remove the brackets, the L brackets. So here's a view from the top. Very slim, very clean. It doesn't stick out. I look at this. My swing arm saddlebag sticks out further out than these bags. I think it looks pretty solid, guys. You guys can let me know in the comments. We're gonna install this one. I don't think you guys have to see the install since we already did this one. You just repeat it. There you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching yet another video. Life's a risk. Get out there and ride. Later.